loud salawat, and while we do, if you guys could move forward and over to this side so the people who come in later have space to sing. Loud salawat. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي إليه مصائر الخلق وواقب الأمر نحمده على عظيم إحسانه ونير برهانه ونوامر فضل امتنان حمدا يكون لحقه كذا ولشكره عدا وإلى صوابه موجبا ولحسن مزيده مقربا الصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبي شفيع المذنبين راحة للعاشقين والمراد المشتاقين شمس العارفين والسراج الصالحين نبيه مصباح والعلم صاحب الجود والكرم والله عاصمه وجبرائيل خادمه والبراق مركبه سدرة المنتهى مقامه كعب قوسين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين جد الحسن والحسين مولانا ومولاي الثقلين أبا القاسم محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على جميع أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين معصومين المنتجبين المنتخبين المظلومين الذين عذب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد ولعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم منكر فضائلهم غاصب حقوقهم ومراتبهم ومنزلتهم ومكانهم من يومنا هذا إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله الحكيم في قرآنه الكريم وهو أصدق القائلين قوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات One more salawat. We've been looking over the last few days at how Islam takes care of us psychologically, emotionally, how it takes care of how we're feeling, what we're thinking. We started looking yesterday at something called self-esteem, the way we view ourselves, what we think of ourselves. We looked at some of the things that can impact our self-esteem, some of the things that can bring our self-esteem higher or lower. And because it's such an important topic, because it's something that affects so much of what we do, affects so much of how we feel, it requires 2 lectures, at least. So today we're going to continue looking at the very same thing, how we view ourselves, our sense of worth. Today what I want to look at is the things that happen as a result of self-esteem, some of the effects of low self-esteem, and then also look at some of the solutions, look at what we can do to help ourselves with our self-esteem, with how we see ourselves, with how we value ourselves. We said yesterday some of the causes. We mentioned bullying, we mentioned how we look, we mentioned beauty standards, things like that, amongst other things. Today we're looking at how self-esteem can impact us. And we started looking at one of the impacts yesterday. What was that? Our mood, how we're feeling. And we said yesterday as well that we all have days where we just don't feel right. We're not in a good mood. Things annoy us easily. Things get on our nerves easily. We have a bad mood. We're in a bad mood. our self-esteem is low, when we don't see ourselves as worth a lot, there's a lot more things there's a lot more reasons for our mood to be bad. There's a lot more things that we think and that we feel about ourselves that makes us feel bad. So it can bring our mood even lower. And if we are already in a bad mood, like I said yesterday, our self-esteem, it being low, us feeling like we're not important or we're not good enough, it can make it a lot more difficult to get out of that bad mood. It can make it a lot more difficult to fix our mood. So he said one of the important effects of self-esteem, of low self-esteem, is that it impacts our mood. It brings us down into a state where we don't feel good enough, so we don't feel good. If I don't feel good about myself, then I'm not feeling good in general. So my mood is low, my mood is on. The second impact. Now before we go out, we dress up, we make ourselves look nice, we do our part hair. We try and make sure that we look good, we look attractive. And it's important. Even in Islam, you're told that you should make yourself attractive when you go out. You should make yourself the best version of yourself. Let everyone see how great you really are. So we see the best version of ourselves and we try to make ourselves look good. But if you feel like you're not good enough, you're just not good looking enough. If you feel like everybody around you is better looking, you feel like there's no point in making yourself look good. Why should I try and make myself look good? Why should I try and make myself look attractive, look appealing, when I'm just not? This is the second impact of having low self-esteem. These kind of thoughts. Feeling like I'm not good enough to dress up. There's no point. Feeling like if I dress up, it doesn't make a difference. If I get a haircut, if I get a trim, it won't make a difference. See, when we fall into this thought, we have this thought process of, I'm not good enough. It then leads to a question of, what's worth it? When we try and make ourselves look good, and this is a known fact, especially some of the old guys, you'll know it. When you go to get a haircut, you feel a lot better afterwards. A lot better about yourself. You feel a lot better about how you look, how you feel. Why? Because when you look good, you feel good. It's true, it's fact. You guys are sitting here, you've all dressed up, you're looking very sharp, your kurtas, your blazers. You've come looking good. You've come looking presentable. Now when you do that, when you see yourself looking good, you start to get rid of those feelings that I'm not good looking, that I'm not good enough. And you can tell. One example is when we get a haircut. Another example is if you put on a suit. Any guy who puts on a suit immediately starts to feel better about himself. Why? Because when you see yourself in a suit, if it's a nice suit, you immediately see yourself and start to think, okay, I look good, I look nice. When you start to have those positive feelings about yourself, you start to think about yourself in a more positive way. It helps you with your self-esteem, but when your self-esteem is low, when you start to think, there's no point in trying to look good. There's no point in looking at what I'm wearing, looking at how I'm going out, doing up my hair. When you start to feel like there's no point, because you're simply not good enough, then when you go out, it will affect other things. It will affect the way you're seen around. And we said yesterday that there's an important way of looking at how other people see us. There's one, making sure we show the best image of ourselves, and one, showing a false image of ourselves. Making yourself look as good as possible. Make yourself look good. Making yourself look attractive, look appealing. That's not a false image. Why? Because you guys are. You guys make yourself the best looking version of yourself. The best looking version that you can be. So this is the second thing. An impact of self-esteem is that when we have low self-esteem, when we're struggling, we sometimes forget to take care of how we look. Or rather, we don't want to. We don't care about what other people think of how we look. So, we don't dress up. We don't make ourselves look good. Recite aloud, salawat ala Muhammad. So we said the first two, it affects our mood, it affects how we take care of ourselves. The third one, our motivation. It's a lot to do with what we've just been speaking about. If I start to think of myself as worthless, you remember at the end of yesterday's lecture, I mentioned a small point, clutter. Seeing lots of unfinished projects around me. Seeing lots of undone work around me. What did we say the reason for that having a bad effect on us was? Because we see that and we think, I've started doing this, but I wasn't good enough to finish it. I've started trying to do this, but I didn't quite reach it. When we start to think I'm not good enough to achieve my targets, I'm not good enough to get to that level, to finish what I want to do, it leads to a lack of motivation. Motivation is us wanting to do something. And it can be any sort of thing. For instance, if you think, I don't want to go and play football, why? Because everybody there is so much better than me. I'm not good enough to play football with the guys who are going to be there. If you start to think this, then you need to remind yourself, what's the best way to get better? To practice, to go there, to enjoy yourself, and to work on yourself. But when we have this low self-esteem, when we see ourselves as not being good enough, it leads to a lack of motivation, or it can do. It can lead to us thinking, well, if I'm not good enough, then what's the point? If I'm not good enough to play football with these guys, to put in a good performance with these guys, then what's the point? If I'm not good enough or a good enough Muslim to be praying my namaz, to be fasting, then what's the point? Why should I? But you have to remember, there's no such thing as not good enough. Why? Because there's always the room to get better. Everything we do, we can improve. Everything we try, we can get better at. So for instance, with me, with football, I started off playing football knowing that my older brother, who's mashallah a really good footballer, was so much better. I started off thinking there is no way I can ever be as good as he is. I practiced and I trained, and at this point, he's not watching, so I'll say I'm better than him. Anybody who's played with him, you can have your own opinions, but you practice and you train and you get better. Whether you think you're good enough right now isn't important. Why? Because that can change. You can get better, you can get worse. It all depends on how you react. But what is important is that you try. What's important is that you keep that motivation. And when you start to think that you're not good enough, that motivation can slowly start to go away from you. It can slowly start to stick. It can slowly start to stick. When we start to see our motivation slip, when we start to see that, we start to feel like we're not good enough and so we're not trying. In the same way as we looked at taking care of how we look, you feel like you're not good looking enough, so you don't try to make yourself look good. You feel like you're not good looking enough, so you don't try to fix your appearance. In the same way, when you try to go out, for instance, play football, for instance, something else, for instance, another sport you might enjoy, tennis, or I'll be honest, all my examples are football related. Not a lot else goes on in my mind. When you try to do something, you can find sometimes you don't quite achieve. You don't quite get to the levels you wanted to. So for instance, me preparing a majlis. There's some days where I'm happy with the way the lecture went. I feel like I remembered all my points and I delivered them well. And there's other days where I think, oh, I forgot to mention this, and I didn't quite mention that. This thing slipped my mind and I could have said that in a better way. But if, for instance, today, the lecture was not to go as I planned, if I were to forget something, or I were to think that the lecture, I could have delivered it better, I could have said it better, does that mean that tomorrow I shouldn't come and give another lecture? Does that mean tomorrow I shouldn't try again? No. Why? Because I can do better. I can get better. Now this self-esteem, what it does, and it's very powerful, it's very strong. It's not simply a matter of saying to yourself that, I'll be better, I'll get better. No. You have to really believe it. You have to really convince yourself. And sometimes you have to really force yourself in ways that you don't want to. This lack of motivation that comes with self-esteem, it's something that it's easy to say that you're better and you'll get better. But at the end of the day, it's really down to you. And that's the thing with self-esteem. It's in the name, self-esteem. It all will come from you at the end of the day. The results will come from you. It requires a lot of trying. It requires you to really think about yourself. And we'll look a little bit later on today about how to think about ourselves or what to do to try and improve our self-esteem. But this was the third thing, our motivation. The fourth thing I'm going to mention is a very tough one, possibly even tougher than our motivation. The fourth impact of low self-esteem is low resilience. Now, what does resilience mean? What is resilience? Resilience is when I suffer a setback to then get up and go again. When I fall over, to pick myself up and go again. When things aren't going my way, to show that I can turn things around. To keep going when things are tough, when things are difficult. To keep going. That's what we call resilience. You see, when things are easy, it's easy to carry on going. For instance, a lot of you guys are going through exams, or you've just been through exams, just got your results. When you're revising, for instance, say you're revising for maths. If you're really good at maths, it's really easy to revise for maths. You want to revise for maths more than you want to revise for any other subject. Why? Because you're good at it. It's easy. But see, what your resilience is doing the difficult. Your resilience is your ability to work through the tough stuff. So for instance, if you're not so great at maths, working through maths. Another subject that you might not be so good at, trying harder on that. If, for instance, and a lot of you might notice this as you go on in school, for instance, going from GCSE to A-levels. A lot of people, A-star students at GCSEs, they start their A-levels, their first mock, they might get a C, if they're lucky. A-levels are a lot harder than GCSEs. Your first mock, you might get a C, you might get worse. At that point, it's a very big split, it's a very big divide. A lot of people think, right, I've gone from an A-grade student or an A-star student to being a C-grade student. A lot of people think, I need to get back to being an A-star student. That's where resilience comes in. That's where your ability to bounce back comes in. It's like Arsenal at the weekend against Tottenham. 2-0 down, what did we do? We came back to 2-2. How? We showed resilience, we showed character, we showed grit. Now see, if we had stayed at 2-0 down, if we had given up, and in past years, Arsenal have done that a lot. You see it. Against Manchester City, against Liverpool, against Chelsea, against United, although we do all right against Chelsea. But if we were to look at in past years, when Arsenal go down 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, you see heads start to drop. Players stop playing. Players don't want to try anymore. Why? Because they think there's no point. We've lost the game. There's no point trying again. But then if you look at one of the most famous fixtures between Arsenal and Liverpool, 4-0 down, much stronger Arsenal team, much greater character, much greater resilience. What did they do? 4-0 down, they come back to 4-4. How did they do that? They had the same players on the pitch. Same players in the second half as in the first half. I still remember that game. I think it was 4-1 at half time. They had the same players on the pitch. But what changed? Their resilience, their mentality, exactly. How they were thinking about the game, how they were looking at the game. At first, when you go 1-2, 3-0 down, you think, this game's gotten away from me. Now, I can't do anything. But if you think about it, in the sense that, and I know most of you guys here play FIFA, yeah? It's one thing you hear in FIFA a lot, the commentators say it. If a team's losing really badly, the commentators, they say one thing. If they can do that in one half, you can do it in the next. You can do it in the other half. And it's true, you can. If you have the ability, if you have the mindset, if you're ready to do it, you can give it a real go. Sometimes you won't always get there, but you can give it a shot. And if, for instance, at the weekend, Arsenal had given up after 2-0, everybody would have said that was a disastrous performance, disastrous game. But they didn't. We weren't too happy with the result, but at the same time, it wasn't disastrous. That was a big deal to come back from 2-0 down. It was a big deal to come and pull ourselves back up, to score 2 goals in the second half, even though we were losing. This is our resilience. When we start to feel like we're not good enough, when we start to feel like I'm not worth a lot, then our resilience starts to drop. So for instance, if at 2-0 down, the Arsenal players might have started to feel like we're not good enough footballers to win this game, or to even get 1 point to draw. At that point, that would have been their self-esteem telling them, you're not good enough, you can't do it. But see, when we keep our self-esteem high, when we keep ourselves resilient, going through the tough times, the difficult times, when we fail an exam and smash the next one, that's our resilience. When we start losing in football, concede a few goals, and come back to win the match, that's our resilience. That's our hard work. And it comes with our mindset. It comes with our mentality. like we said, it's still the same person who failed that exam, or who didn't do so well in that exam. It's still the same team who conceded however many goals in the first half. But the thing that's changed is your mindset. The thing that's stronger is how you're feeling about yourself. If you feel like I can do it, then you can do it. There's a very old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. I think it might be Bob the Builder, I'm not entirely sure. But where there's a will, there's a way. It means where you want to do something, where you believe you can do something, you will find a way to do it. You'll get there in the end. That's the third thing, our resilience. And again, or fourth thing rather, just like motivation, it's easy to say, we have to keep our head up, we have to keep ourselves going. But it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to do. And when you feel like, I'm not good enough, or my team's not good enough, one example that a lot of you might have seen, might know, again, it's football. If you see the difference between when Ronaldo's team starts conceding goals and when Messi's team starts conceding goals, what's the difference? You see Ronaldo getting his team up. He encourages them, he tells them, come on, let's go, let's do this. Messi, he drops his head. Messi, he starts looking around like, who are these players around me? We can't do this. He starts thinking, if anything's going to happen, I have to do it myself, otherwise we can't do this. See Messi, one of the greatest footballers in the world, in history, surrounded by some of the greatest players at the time, of the time. Look at Barcelona's attack right now. If they start losing, Messi's head still drops. Why? That feeling that, are we good enough? Can we do it? I'm not saying Messi suffers from low self-esteem. He's one of the best footballers in all of history. But at the same time, we see how his mentality affects how he can do it, how it affects his resilience. This is our resilience. The next thing that comes along is this sense of worthlessness. See, this feeling that, am I good enough, can very quickly lead to, I'm not good enough. See, when our self-esteem starts to drop, we start to ask ourselves questions. Start to ask, am I good enough? Am I strong enough? Am I talented enough? Am I smart enough? When our self-esteem gets to a point of being damaging, that's when it starts to tell us, you're not good enough. That's when it starts to say to us, you're not smart enough. See, this sense of worthlessness. What am I worth? What is my value? It's one I'll spend a moment just dwelling on this because it's important. We said that at the start of yesterday's lecture, we said that this sense of self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves, it can impact a lot of other psychological issues, a lot of other mental health issues. And this sense of worthlessness is where a lot of them come from. One of the most important ones that comes from this worthlessness, when you start to feel like you're not worth anything, is a sense of isolation. And we mentioned this yesterday as well. The sense that I'm not good enough leads to a thought that, and some of you older guys might have experienced this, it leads to a thought that, what difference do I make here? If I'm here, or if I'm not, what difference does it make to the world? What difference does it make to the people around me? Really, what is my worth? What is my worth? What do I bring to the table? And we said when those questions become statements, when you start telling yourself, I'm not worth anything, or my being here or my not being here does not have a difference on anybody else. Of course, we know it's not true. We know that each and every single person here has an effect on the people around you. We know that all of you have an effect on those people who care about you, on those people who know you. But when we start to feel like I'm not worth anything, when we start to feel like I'm not good enough for anything, we start to distance ourselves. We start to get to a point where we think, me being here does not have an effect on anybody else. And it's a thought that a lot of people go through. That if I wasn't here, nothing would be different. Everything would be exactly the same. I'll give you one small example of how much of an impact you might have on somebody else's life without even knowing. It's an example from my own life. Back in my college days, when I used to go to sixth form. See, there was this one guy. I'd walk past him every day on my way to college, on my way to sixth form. He'd be going to work, I assume. I'd be going to sixth form. I've never spoken to the guy, never interacted with this guy. I just remember, he'd be walking on that side of the road, I'd be walking on this side of the road, every day. Now, this guy seemed to be fairly regular with his time. I realized it after about a month or two. So then I started using this guy as a little guide for myself. I thought to myself, if the moment where I crossed paths with him is exactly halfway between my house and his house, not creepy or anything, I just realized where he lived because I walk past him every day. But if I thought, the place where I crossed paths with him is exactly halfway between, then I would know I'm on time for sixth form. I'm on time for registration. You guys have noticed my watch. I don't really look at the time like that a lot. I would know that I'm on time for sixth form. If I were to cross paths with him closer to my house, I would realize that I'm late. If I was to cross paths with him closer to his house, I think I'm early. I can relax. This guy has no idea who I am. I have no idea who he is. He's just a guy who lives on my way to sixth form. Now to him, he thinks he has no effect on my life. He doesn't even know who I am. But to me, every day, at some point in my journey, I would decide whether I'm walking fast enough, or whether I can relax, whether I can slow down, or whether I'm walking at a good pace. Every single morning, based on where that guy is in his journey, I would decide how to walk. Faster, slower, same pace. And in the same way, there will be people who you have no idea about, but you have an impact on their lives, some way or another. That was the smallest impact, the smallest thing. Letting me know whether I'm on time for sixth form or not, whether I'm making it on time for registration or not. That was the tiniest thing. But the impact we have on the people around us, the lives of the people around us, we might never realize it. And it is something that we don't generally say, either until it's too late, or until the person who has an impact on us isn't around. But it's because so many different people have an impact on us in our everyday life. I'll give you another example, for instance. I live in Iran now. Before I went to Iran, all my friends, they got together and they wrote me a big card, massive card. They all wrote little paragraphs in the card for me. One of my friends, he's a good friend of mine. We're close. But I never really thought I had an impact on his life. We used to go out together, we'd laugh, we'd joke, we played football. I never really thought I had an impact on his life though. In that card, what he wrote was that every time when we play football together, he watches me. He tries to play like me. He wrote that the last time that we played football together before I went for Iran. He was watching how I used to command the team because I was a captain that day. He said he chose to be, in fact rather, I was normally captain, on that day I wasn't. He stepped forward and said he wanted to be captain. He said he did it because he wanted to show me that he'd learned this kind of stuff from me. He'd been looking at how I play football, what kind of captain I am, and he tried to do that himself. He tried to be like that himself. See, to me, I had no idea. To me, he's just a guy I play football with. We're close friends, good friends. But I didn't think there was really any impact on his life from me. I didn't really think I used to do anything for his life. Didn't think I used to change anything he does in any way, shape or form. But when I read that, I realized that maybe there are people who we impact. In fact, there definitely are people who we impact, who we affect. Even though we don't know it, even though we don't realize it. In the littlest way. We have to remember to make sure that that impact is good. We have to remember to make sure that the impact we have on other people is a positive impact. But when we start to feel like we don't have an impact on other people, when we start to feel like there is no impact, this feeling that we said comes from low self-esteem, that we don't affect other people. When we start to feel like that, then it can lead to us moving away from other people. It can lead to us coming into this sense of, or this difficulty of what we call isolation. And we'll look at isolation in the coming few days, inshallah. In the coming few days, time permitted, we'll go through the issues of depression, isolation, and anxiety. Hopefully we'll get through as much of it as we can. Hopefully we'll get through as many of those issues as we can. Isolation is one of the important ones. It's also one that will take a lot of time, but we'll try our best. Isolation is what we call more commonly loneliness. And one type of isolation, one type of loneliness, is when we feel disconnected. I could be sitting around all of you and still feel like there's not connection between us. I could feel like what I'm doing doesn't have an impact on you guys. What you're doing doesn't have an impact on me. This sense that comes from, that sense of worthlessness. That feeling that I have no worth, I have no impact on the world around us. See, when we feel that disconnect, then we can go into isolation. We'll look in the coming few days, either tomorrow or the day after, inshallah, at what this can do to us, why this is dangerous and damaging. But then we come to worthlessness. What are the points we've mentioned so far? Our sense of, our mood is one of the impacts. Second, the way we take care of ourselves, the way how we look. We also looked at our lack of motivation, lack of resilience, and now we've looked at isolation, worthlessness. Yeah? The next one, an impact of poor self-esteem. Our relationships with people around us, they suffer. And if you look at all the points that we've mentioned so far, it makes sense. If I'm not taking care of how I look or how I dress, of course it'll affect the way people are around me. It will affect the way people want to be around me. So for instance, romantic relationships, if you're not taking care of how you look and how you dress, you'll suffer. Husbands, wives, we'll leave it at that. When we look at isolation, our worthlessness, if it leads to isolation, if you start to cut yourself off from other people because you feel isolated, you feel lonely, you feel separate from those other people, then of course, people are going to start growing distant. Your friends, your family. If you start growing distant from them, your relationship with them will suffer. So this is our relationship with people. I'll go quickly ahead, we have just over 10 minutes left, I'll try to finish by 9:30, inshallah. And the last one I'll mention, is putting ourselves last. Because you see, when you feel like everyone else is better than you, you're not as good as anybody around you, you start to put them on a pedestal. You start to idolize them. They're better than me. They're so much greater than me. He's smarter than me. He's better looking than me. He's better than me at football. See, when you start doing that, you start to put everybody else ahead of you. You start to think, because he's better than me, he deserves more than me. Because he's smarter than me, he deserves more respect than I deserve. And see, giving respect to other people is a good thing. It's a very good thing. But at the same time, you have to command and demand respect yourself. You have to keep yourself respected. But, and I've seen this, a friend of mine who suffered from low self-esteem, what he used to do is he became like everybody's pet. Anything anybody would tell him to do, he would do it. Now, for instance, if I were to ask one of you guys, if I would say, Zayn, can you get me a glass of water? See, that's one thing. But if I were to then turn around and go, Zayn, go get me a glass of water. If you then go running and get that glass of water and bring it to me, are you demanding respect from me? Are you making me respect yourself? Because when I'm being disrespectful, you're not reacting. When I'm being disrespectful, you're not stopping me from being disrespectful. When you put yourself last, when you let other people think they can treat you like that, that's when it starts to damage your sense of worth even. It's like a cycle. You think you're not good enough, so you let other people treat you like that. Other people treat you like that, so then you start to, that encourages that feeling that you're not good enough. When you see other people not respecting you, when you see other people treating you like you're less than them, like you're worse than them, then what that leads to is you feeling more and more like you're less than them, like you're worse than them. Now, of course, if somebody asks you to go get them water, you should. But if somebody's being disrespectful, it's different. Now, see, if an older tells you to go get some water for them, you should. But if, for instance, your friends, or your peers, the guys who are at the same level of respect as you, they should be. If they start treating you like you're less than them, then that's when you have to take a stand. That's when you have to make sure that, in a respectful way, with good manners, with good etiquette, you stop that. You change that. So these are the 7 impacts that we would look at today. The first was our mood. The second was our sense of self-care, taking care of how we look, how we are, how we present ourselves. We also looked at lack of motivation, lack of resilience. We looked at our relationships with others. We looked at putting ourselves last. And I know there's one more, but I can't remember what it was. And our sense of worthlessness leads to isolation. Thank you, Rizvi. Recite aloud, Salawat. The wall was just an example. When we look at these effects, we can see how they can be damaging. But I didn't just come here to tell you that there is an issue called self-esteem, low self-esteem. We want to look at some of the things we can do to improve that. And racing on, because we really are getting short of time now, and I don't want this to run on to tomorrow's lecture as well. When we look at what we can do for isolation, or what we can do for self-esteem, who did we say can fix our self-esteem? Ourselves, me. And it comes from that and that's where it really stems from. Introspection is what we call looking at ourselves. When we look at who I am, what I am, there's a lot of different things that come about. And it's important to look at what I'm good at. Find your talents. What are you really good at? For me, I'll go with football. The guys say, well, I played against, I hope you'll agree. For me, I go with football. Football's what I'm good at. It's one of my talents. It's one of the things I enjoy doing. It's one of the things I enjoy training for, getting better at. Football's one of the things I'm good at. But then we also have to look at things we're not so good at. Look at what I can improve. But don't look at it in a sense that I'm just not as good at that. Don't look at it in a sense that, okay, I might be great at football, but I'm not good at this. No. Look at it as, okay, I'm great at football, but I need to improve with this. My secondary school was different to my sixth form. I switched. And I saw a very distinct change in teaching. And I know the difference between results in the two schools as well. See, in my secondary school, statistics were something like about 60% of students at GCSE level would get A star to C. So about 60% of students would pass their GCSEs. When I went to the sixth form, there the statistics were more like 60% of students get an A to an A star. You can see there's a very big difference. 60% getting a pass, and 60% getting the top grades. And I wondered, or rather, I didn't spend a lot of time wondering because it was very clear the difference between the two schools. It was very clear to me at least why the two schools were different. See, in my secondary school, if you didn't do well, the teachers would tell you, you're not doing good enough. You need to do better. The teachers would tell you that grade just wasn't good enough. When I went to my sixth form, however, if you didn't get a grade that was good enough, if you weren't working to your potential, the teachers would come to you and they'd say, see, here's what you've done, and here's how it can be better. Here's what you've done, here's how it can improve. I think if you do this, it'll be better for you. See, this manner of speaking, the way they would encourage you. See, in my secondary school, what they do is they discourage you from bad grades. But in the sixth form, they would encourage you to do better. They'd make you do better. How? Not by telling you you weren't good enough. Not by telling you you hadn't done well enough. Rather, by showing you how you could do better. So when we look at ourselves, we see what we're good at, and we want to improve that. And then we look at the things we're not so great at. We look at the things we're not so talented with, not so good at. And we look at that as something we can improve, something we want to get better at. It's the first thing, introspection. Looking at myself, what I'm good at, what I can get better at. And with introspection comes another thing. Understanding what we're thinking and what we're feeling. When we're thinking and feeling like we're not good enough, when we look at ourselves, when we do this introspection, look at why we feel that way. Look at what it is that I'm actually thinking, what I'm actually feeling. When we understand what it is we're thinking and feeling, then it's easier to reach the right conclusion. It's easier to understand what those thoughts and those feelings actually mean rather than what we've thought them to mean, what we believe them to mean. So the first one was introspection. The second one we kind of mentioned is the way we talk about ourselves. This whole thing with secondary school and the sixth form. Our use of words is very important. The way we look at things, the way we talk about things, it has a great impact. A few days ago we said thought. Our thoughts, it's just words. It's just us talking to ourselves. And we said thoughts are so powerful. We've said again and again how important and how powerful our thoughts are, how much they can affect us. So in the same way, our words, the things we actually say out loud, they're just as powerful. They can be very strong. So make a habit of talking about yourself in a positive way, of thinking about yourself in a positive light. The words you use to describe yourself, make them positive. Make them encouraging rather than discouraging. Make them something that tells you you are good. Remind yourself every day that you are good enough, you are smart enough, And that if you want to, you can get smarter, you can get better, you can get stronger. You can do all these things. Remind yourself, talk to yourself about these things. Third thing we'll look at is our relationships, the people around us. If you're surrounded by people who always put you down, people who make you feel like you're not good enough, there's two things you can do. Either you can change your surroundings, you can change your friends, people who make you feel good, people who remind you of how important and how good you are. Now, of course, we all poke fun at each other every now and again. We all make fun of each other, which is one thing. But then to actually make someone feel bad about themselves is a whole different story. It's a whole different issue. And I'll go on quickly, I won't stay on this topic for too long. But A, you can change your friends. B, and this is the second thing, and a very important thing to learn if we're struggling from low self-esteem, is the ability to say no. The ability to tell someone, I don't like that. I don't want to do this. So if somebody's making a joke that doesn't make you feel right, a joke that you're not comfortable with, to them it's just a joke. But the ability to tell them, I don't like that joke. The ability to tell them that I don't feel comfortable joking about this kind of thing. I don't feel comfortable talking about that kind of thing. Teaching yourself the ability to be able to say no in a situation where somebody puts you down, or where somebody makes you feel less comfortable, or makes you feel bad about yourself. The ability to say no is very important. And again, I wish I could have spent more time, but we're running out of time very quickly. And the last thing that comes with the ability to say no. See, we said the ability to say no is when somebody's making you feel uncomfortable. But that's making you feel uncomfortable in a way where they're making you feel bad. Sometimes it's important though to challenge yourself, to take yourself out of your comfort zone. Not in the sense where somebody is making you feel bad, making you look bad, making you think you're not good enough, no. But challenge yourself in a way that, if I feel, for instance, like we said, if I feel I'm not good enough to play football with these guys, challenge yourself. Go out, put in your best effort, try your best. And again, it's a lot harder than it sounds. You can't just say to yourself, right, I'm going to do this, and go. No. Your mind will find 100 excuses to stop you. Your body will find 100 ways to stop you. And it's a lot easier to stop yourself doing something than it is to actually do it when you don't want to do it. So make sure you challenge yourself sometimes. Me, for instance. A long time ago, I used to be afraid of heights. I used to be scared of high places, high things. One day I was at, I'm not sure if any of you guys have been, some of you might have, some of you might not have. I was at one of these summer camps, Camp Fartami. And I remember we had this thing called Jacob's Ladder, which is basically, it's like a ladder, but it's on a string and it's suspended. And the gap between the rungs of the ladder, they're very large. So you have to jump from one rung to the other. They're big wooden logs. And I thought to myself, there is no way I'm doing that, that's very high up. But then all my friends went and they all did it. And I thought, you know what, if everyone can do it, then let me try it. Let me do it. I might as well go for it. And I tried, and I got to the top. And I looked down and I thought, this really isn't very scary at all. I'm very comfortable there. Before I thought, I can't do that. That's way too high for me. And at the end of it, the end of that day, the end of that little session, I looked at it and I thought, that one thing I was afraid of, the thing I was scared of, it's nothing in comparison to me. Why? Because I can do it. I can conquer. I'm better than that fear. I'm better than that thing that makes me feel bad. And so I realized on that day that I don't need to be afraid of heights. It gave me a boost. It gave me a sense of achievement. And one thing I forgot to mention, I'll say it, but I won't dwell on it again, is set yourself little targets. Small little things that you can do that are achievements throughout the day. Small little things that you can get through throughout the day that are achievements. Little ones, easy ones. Waking up on time. I said easy, it's harder than it sounds, but waking up on time. Remind yourself it's an achievement. It's a good thing that you've done that day. Getting to school on time, it's a good thing that you've done today, that day. Reading your namaz that day, remind yourself it's a good thing that you've done. We're meant to do it, we have to do it, but it doesn't mean that it's not a good thing that we did it. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be rewarded when we do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards us. We have to remind ourselves. Sometimes reward yourself as well a little bit. And with that, we'll call it a day of self-esteem. We'll move on tomorrow and in the days after to look at some different issues that we might suffer from, that a lot of people do suffer from. Inshallah, we'll try our best to look at depression, loneliness, and anxiety. we may only have time to look at two of them, but we'll try our best to get through as much of it as we can. Recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. From today, in the majlis of Imam Hussein, in our Azadari of Imam Hussein, we begin to remember the Banu Hashim, the family of Imam Hussein, the family of the Prophet. And today is generally associated with two young men, Hazrat Quaim and Hazrat Muhammad. Who were they? They were sons of Bibi Zainab al-Awliya Khatun and Hazrat Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar. When Bibi Zainab and Hazrat Abdullah were getting married, Imam Ali alayhi salam placed a clause in the marriage. He placed a condition. He said to Hazrat Abdullah that Zainab is very close with her brother Hussein. If Imam Hussein alayhi salam at any point wishes to leave Medina, if at any point he gets ready to travel or go on a long journey, the condition was that Hazrat Abdullah would not stop Bibi Zainab from going with him. The time came, 28th of Rajab. Imam Hussein alayhi salam tells Bibi Zainab, Zainab, Medina is no longer safe for me. I must leave Medina. Bibi Zainab comes to the house of Hazrat Abdullah. She comes to her house and asks for permission to go. Hazrat Abdullah gives permission. He remembers the promise that he made to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Hazrat Abdullah is very ill. He's very weak. He cannot go on this journey. He cannot travel. Bibi Zainab, she packs her things. And as she leaves, she turns around one time. She says, Khuda Hafiz, she says farewell to Hazrat Abdullah. And then she says, Khuda Hafiz, she says farewell to her two sons. Sayyidah Zainab raised her two sons. She raised Hazrat Quaim and Hazrat Muhammad to be servants of the Ahlul Bayt, of course. But in every mother's mind, they think, one day I'll see my son get married. One day I'll see him be a success. I'll see him earning. I'll see him living his life. Every mother does think this. Sayyidah Zainab, at this point in her mind, she still thinks, I will see this from Quaim and Muhammad. At this point, she still thinks, when I return from my journey, I'll still see Quaim and Muhammad getting married. I'll still see them with their families. I'll still get to see them make a success of their own. The caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam sets off. First, they go to Mecca. From Mecca, they have to cut their head short, change it into Umrah, and from there, they start to leave. As the caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is leaving Mecca, Hazrat Abbas comes to Imam Hussein. He says, Mawla, I'd like to ask permission to stop the caravan for a short while. Imam Hussein asks him why. He says, as I look behind us, I see somebody trying to catch up with the caravan. Somebody is riding after us. Imam Hussein says, okay, we will stop the caravan and we will wait here. The caravan is stopped. And as this person approaches closer and closer, Hazrat Abbas sees his brother-in-law, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar, the husband of Sayyidah Zainab al-Awliya Khatun. He sees him, he brings him to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Hazrat Abdullah asks Imam Hussein for permission to see Bibi Zainab. Imam Hussein says, of course, that is your wife. You have a right to go see her. Hazrat Abbas shows Hazrat Abdullah to the camel where Sayyidah Zainab is waiting. Now in those days, what they would have is a small sort of tent on the back of the camel, known as a bedroom. Sayyidah Zainab was inside the tent, Hazrat Abdullah ibn Ja'far al-Tayyar is outside. Hazrat Abdullah, from outside the tent, calls to Bibi Zainab. He sent his salam. Assalamu alayki, ya bint Rasulullah. Bibi Zainab, at this point in her mind, she thinks, maybe Hazrat Abdullah has come to take me back to Medina. Maybe he has changed his mind and he does not want me to go with Imam Hussein alayhi salam anymore. She responds, she says, alaykum as-salam, wa alayka as-salam. But before Hazrat Abdullah can say anything further, she says, Abdullah, if you have come to take me back to Medina, understand that I will come with you. Understand that I will not refuse, but also understand this. Zainab is very close with her brother Hussein. Abdullah, if you wish for me to come back to Medina, I accept your wish. But just know this. If you separate Zainab from Hussein, it will not be Zainab who you take back to Medina, rather it will be my funeral. It will be my janazah that you take back to Medina. Abdullah, if you wish for me to come, I will come with you, but just know, Zainab will not go back to Medina alive. But Abdullah says, Zainab, no. I have not come to take you back to Medina, rather, I have come to act upon a sunnah of your grandfather. Bibi Zainab asks him, what sunnah is this? He looks at her and he says, Zainab, before your grandfather would ever leave the house, before Rasulullah would ever leave his house, he would take out sadaqah. Zainab, take my two sons as sadaqah. Zainab, if ever a time comes where Islam needs our help, if ever a time comes where Hussein needs our help, Zainab, take on as a sadaqah from me. Take on as a charity from me to Islam. And Zainab, take Muhammad as a charity from yourself. Zainab, when the time comes that Islam will need our two sons, when it will need our sacrifice, just remember this. Make sure it is our sons who give their lives first. Make sure it is our sons who are sacrificed first. Saying this, Hazrat Abdullah returns to Medina. Bibi Zainab takes her two sons. They go on towards Karbala. The 9th of Muharram arrives. Every woman is in their tents. They are preparing their children. They are preparing their family members for the day to come. Bibi Farwa asks Qasim, are you ready for death? Bibi Rubab, she's looking at Hazrat Ali Asghar. She's looking at Bibi Sakina. She's preparing them for the day to come. But what is Bibi Zainab saying to Hazrat Awn and Muhammad? What is Bibi Zainab saying to her two sons? She looks at her two sons and she says, whatever happens, do not stay quiet. Tomorrow there will be a battle. Tomorrow your uncle Hussein will need you. Make sure you are amongst the first to go out. It is your father's wish. Make sure you are the first to give your lives. The day of Ashura arrives. Hazrat Awn and Muhammad, they come to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They are the very first to come to him. They say to him, Mawla, we wish to give our lives. They call out to their uncle Hussein, we wish to give ourselves for the Islam. We wish to give ourselves for the religion. Imam Hussein says, no, I cannot let you go yet. They come and they go and they come and they go. They ask again and again and again and again. Mawla Hussein says, no, you cannot go. No, I will not give you permission yet. At one point, Sayyidah Zainab sees Hazrat Awn Muhammad walking around outside. She calls them, she says to them, why are you still here? I can hear women and children crying. Lives have been lost. Why are you still alive? Why have you not given your lives yet? Hazrat Awn Muhammad, they look to their mother and they say, we have been trying. We have asked our uncle many times for permission, but he will not give it. Then Sayyidah Zainab says to Hazrat Awn Muhammad, she says, go and get my brother Abbas. Go and get Abul Fadl, bring him to me. Hazrat Abbas comes towards Sayyidah Zainab. Sayyidah Zainab looks at him and she says, Abbas, tell Hussein, for his sister Zainab's sake, let my children go. What is the crime of my children? Imam Hussein then himself comes to the camps. He then himself comes to Sayyidah Zainab. He says to Sayyidah Zainab, maybe Abdullah does not want your children to be sacrificed. Maybe I do not have permission of Abdullah to send these children out to battle. She says, no. Abdullah himself said, let these children be amongst the first to go. Imam Hussein, at this point, he looks at his sister. He knows he cannot say no any longer. He takes hold of Hazrat Awn, he holds him by his chest. He hugs Hazrat Awn, he takes hold of Hazrat Muhammad. He hugs Hazrat Muhammad. And then Mawla Hussein, Hazrat Abbas. Mawla Hussein picks up Hazrat Awn. Mawla Abbas picks up Hazrat Muhammad. They mount them on the horses. At this point, according to one of the narrations, Sayyidah Zainab looks at Imam Hussein and says, Hussein, no, not like this. I will not say goodbye to my children like this. I will not bid farewell to my children like this. They will not go to battle like this. They say there was a small trunk. Bibi Zainab opens the trunk and pulls out two imamas. She places one in the hands of Imam Hussein, one in the hands of Hazrat Abbas. She says, place these two imamas on the heads of my sons. This is the imama of Ja'far al-Tayyar. This is the imama of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They will go out into battle representing their grandfathers. Mawla Hussein, he places the imama on the head of Hazrat Awn. Hazrat Abbas places one imama on the head of Hazrat Muhammad. Then they mount their horse. They wear their armor. They are ready for battle. Before they go out to battle, they look down at Imam Hussein alayhi salam. According to the narrations, it's Hazrat Muhammad who says, oh Uncle Hussein, may we get permission to go and say goodbye to our mother one last time. May we go and say farewell to our mother one last time. When a child bids farewell to his mother, they cry, they wish each other well. But what happens in this exchange? They come to the tent of Sayyidah Zainab. Sayyidah Zainab looks at them. What does she say? She says, oh Muhammad, remember this. You are the sons. Oh, you are the son of Zainab. You are the grandson of Ali. You are the grandson of Ja'far al-Tayyar, the nephew of Abbas. I know when you fight, you will defeat the armies. I know when you fight, you will be strong enough to reach the river Furat. But remember this much. Remember that Sakina is still thirsty. Ali Asghar is still thirsty. Oh, Muhammad, I have to face Sayyidah Zahra one day. Do not drink water from the river Furat while the children of Hussein are still thirsty. Hazrat Aun and Muhammad, they bid farewell to their mother. They go towards the battlefield. There are two armies of Yazid. One by the name of Maymunah, one by the name of Maysarah. When they attack with such fierceness. They attack with such power. These armies are split. These armies, they are trying to defeat these two young men, but they cannot. As they said, as Sayyidah Zainab knew, as they are fighting, as they proceed through the ranks of the armies, they reach a point where they reach the river Furat. They reach the river Furat. Behind them is the army of Yazid. In front of them is the water. Behind them is death. In front of them is quenching their thirst. Hazrat Aun looks at Hazrat Muhammad. Hazrat Muhammad looks at Aun. They look each other in the eyes, and Hazrat Muhammad looks at Aun. He says, Aun, you know what we must do. Aun, remember what our mother said to us. They turn away from the water. They turn away from that one thing they've been waiting for 3 days. 3 days hungry, 3 days thirsty. They turn their back on the water. They fly in towards death. They go towards the armies of Yazid once more. At one point, they start approaching closer and closer to the camps of Umar ibn Sa'd. They start getting closer to the tent of Umar ibn Sa'd himself. At this point, a cry is heard from Umar ibn Sa'd. He says, somebody bring these two children down. They say that when they were fighting the armies of Yazid, because they did not know, the majority of the army of Yazid did not know who each individual was. They say there was a cry heard at one point. They say somebody in the army of Yazid, one of the soldiers cries out, Allah, it is if Ali himself has come into the battlefield. The two boys fight. The army of Yazid, they do not know how to stop them. What do? When they are fighting together, they are unstoppable. So the armies of Yazid try to get in between the two boys. They swarm Hazrat Aun and Hazrat Muhammad. They come through the middle of them both. Now, Hazrat Aun could not see Hazrat Muhammad. Hazrat Muhammad could not see Hazrat Aun. The two brothers are lost in the army, being attacked from all sides, it is said. As they were fighting, one Mal'oon comes from behind. He takes a large rock and strikes the head of Hazrat Aun. Hazrat Aun falls to the floor. He cries out, Adrikni, Adrikni. He calls out to his uncle Hussein to come and help him. Muhammad hears his brother has fallen. He hears his brother calling for help. He turns to look for his brother. As he is looking for his brother, somebody strikes Muhammad. Muhammad falls from his horse. Imam Hussein alayhi salam mounts one horse. Hazrat Abbas mounts another. They both fly out into the battlefield. The armies of Yazid, they become worried. They become scared. They start to scatter away. They say when Hazrat Abbas reaches the body of Hazrat Aun has already taken his last breaths. Hazrat Aun has already left this world. But when Imam Hussein reaches the body of Muhammad, he takes Muhammad in his arms. Muhammad is taking his final breaths. Imam Hussein, whenever he reached the Shaheed who was still alive, he asked them, do you have any wasiyah? Do you have anything you wish from me in your final moments? Hazrat Muhammad looks up at Imam Hussein and he says, oh Uncle Hussein, tell my mother we reached the river Furat. Tell my mother we reached the water, but me and my brother remembered what she said. We did not drink any water while Sakina is still thirsty. We did not drink any water while Asghar is still thirsty. Tell my mother we were faithful to what she did, to what she said. Imam Hussein and Hazrat Abbas, they bring the bodies back to the tents. Just 1 more minute and then I'll complete the Masa'ib. They say they brought the bodies back to the tents. All the women and the children came out. All the women and the children cried over Hazrat Aun and Hazrat Muhammad, except for one Syed. Imam Hussein then says to one of the women, go and call Sayyidah Zainab. Go and tell Sayyidah Zainab to come and to bid farewell to her children. Sayyidah Zainab comes, and you know why she cries at this point. They say Sayyidah Zainab never cried over her children, and this is true. But when those two bodies were brought back, Sayyidah Zainab does cry. She falls into sajda and we hear her crying out. She's between the bodies of Aun and Muhammad. She looks up towards Allah Azza wa Jalla and she calls out, Aun, Muhammad, now that you are gone, who can I give to save the life of Hussein? Now that you have left the world, who can I give to save Islam? 1 more minute now, complete the Masa'ib. You remember it is said, Sayyidah Zainab never cried over her 2 children. She went to Sham, she did not cry for Aun and Muhammad. When they were released from the prison, there was a majlis, but she did not cry for Aun and Muhammad. When she goes back to Medina, she goes to the grave of Rasulullah, she cries and she weeps, but she does not mention Aun and Muhammad. At one point, Sayyidah Zainab, When she finally returns to her own house, she walks in through the door and she sees in the room 2 small musallas on the floor. She sees 2 small musallas on the floor where Ahmad Muhammad used to pray. She turns to Karbala. She calls out to her brother Hussein. She says, Hussein, I did not cry in Karbala. I did not cry in Kufa. I did not cry in Sham. Hussein, at this point, give me permission. I will cry for my 2 children. فلا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين فسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Once again, the brothers to wait while the sisters make their way upstairs. Inshallah, in a few moments we'll go upstairs and we'll also take part in the Adha and what I'm saying. Until that time, we recite aloud, salawat, and recite Surah Fatiha.